Shalom, shalom, Israel. First and foremost, I want to give all honor, glory, and praise unto YAHAWAH BaHashem, YAHAWASHI BaHashem, Wakwak Qudash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of the great millstone, and shalom to the mighty Akim who are diligently waiting to be delivered from this final captivity. This is Brother Kawakab coming at you with another lesson. Today's lesson, I want to go into. I just want to flow through the Spirit. You know, there were some things that I was hearing, listening, and watching. It's not even a new thing for me, but I always watch other brothers' videos, and you know, whenever the thing for me, right, which I kind of feel like that's spiritual, is sometimes YouTube will recommend me a brother's channel or a brother's video that I've never even seen before at some of like the strangest times, and I know that it's definitely through the Spirit that I see like, wait, hold on, that is a topic that's very that seems that like very pinpoint, like it's targeted specifically for me. That's basically how I feel. So I'm like, okay, hold on, let me check this out. Let me check this out for a second. And then number one, the good thing is I learn of another brother that's doing the work and stuff like that. And number two, you know, a lot of times it just resonates with me, like, yeah, like this type of stuff, I needed to hear that. I needed to hear, you know, the Spirit and all this stuff, and like me doing whatever type of stuff. And the thing about that is, again, like one thing that people like to think, or people might say, is, oh, it's just a coincidence, or it's just that, and that's the reason why Esau runs this world, because Esau doesn't believe in anything spiritual. All right, Esau, as the scriptures say, Esau is lest there be any fornicator or profane person as Esau, who sold his birthright for one most of me, roughly paraphrasing. All right, so our people, and not just our people, but all other nations of people, they basically take up after Esau. And you know how the reason why I know that is because, you know, for example, when you were younger or whatever, you might think like say for example, oh, just I believe in God or whatever, stuff like that, and then you might have been ridiculed for that. Because I remember for me, when I was younger, I grew up in a Christian household, and me just saying, oh, I believe in God, this, and the third, or God does this, God does that, and some other kid is over here saying, like, what the fuck are you talking about God? God doesn't even exist, he's just a fairy tale, blah, 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 and stuff like that, where you have these people that basically are ridiculing you for some sort of spirituality, alright? Now, on top of that, even taking it a step further, not just with kids, okay, because obviously, yeah, you might say, oh yeah, a kid might say this, kid might say that, whatever. But then if you take it a step further to, a more mature environment, all right, people, let's say you have to celebrate a certain holiday, like say you're Indian, you're celebrating Diwali or something or whatever, and they say, oh, well, you explain, okay, so this is why it's this. We love the elephant, we love this, whatever. I don't know anything about Diwali, but basically, you know, we love this, that, and third. This is our beliefs and stuff like that. And they say, oh, this is so stupid. Like, your curry smells weird. You're this, that, and third, whatever. And again, that goes back into how the society is like, okay, well, nobody insults science. All right, nobody insults science. Science is basically the most plain thing. And when I bring these examples out, I bring it out as an example of. I bring it out as an example of your average person, not someone that goes in and studies whatever belief that they believe in. For example, like being an Israelite, all right, you have to be studied in the scriptures. You have to know. You have to be able to say, okay, you know what? I believe in this, and I can back up my belief in why I believe in the scriptures. On top of that, you like another example is Christianity and Christians versus atheists, all right? A Christian has to be able to back up why they believe this over atheism, all right? And so that's why, like a lot of stuff is like, you have to take this from, you're thinking in, the way I'm describing this is from an average person's point of view, rather than just anyone's point of view, because not everybody, even Israelites, which if you're an Israelite and you're not able to somewhat rationalize why you believe in the way that you believe in, then you have to evaluate yourself, not because you need to go validate. You have to feel validated, not because you have to feel validated by debating with anyone, but you have to be locked in or cemented in your beliefs. So you have to be able to say, okay, so someone said something about atheism that made sense to me. All right, so and that's the thing where it's different for everyone. So if someone said something about atheism that makes sense to you, then it's like, okay, so let me go and study that. Let me go and learn how to counteract that, because you're constantly growing. These are the types of stuff that that helps you to constantly grow in the faith and helps you to work out your own salvation. All right, where your salvation is dependent on you and your knowledge, you and your understanding, you and your beliefs, not a matter of, oh, someone said this, so I just believe it, or my parents taught me this, or I grew up with my parents believing this, which, by the way, that's why a lot of Christians leave the church, because they just grew up with their parents and the Christian church, they don't teach you anything, all right? So, as a result, Slaki, I feel like I just got off topic, but basically, this is all still important, all right? And that's another thing with us Israelites. As you say, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. You know, we can't force anyone to do it. Now, if you are a man or a woman, whatever, if you're married, all right, and you have kids, you're not supposed to force your kids. While you do want your kids, of course, you would want your kids to, learn and follow after you. You don't want them to, live a wicked lifestyle, of course. But at the same time, it's like you really don't have a say in whether or not they will be saved or not, because it's not up to you whether they are going to be solidified in their faith or even choose to stay in the faith long term. Because I remember there were so many different women, or I'll say girls, that grew up in this faith. They were saying, oh yeah, my dad was this, he was heavy into this, and then when I turned 18, I stopped believing in that stuff and whatnot. There was a bunch of stuff where there's a bunch of stories. I think recently I saw this one video of this so-called half black, so-called half Asian girl who's a DJ or whatever. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but yeah, she was basically talking about how, my dad was this, and I just stopped. He just stopped, and I just stopped, following that and whatnot. So, as a result of that, like, that's the type of thing where it's not you might be saying, like, oh, I want my daughter to not grow up being a whore or whatever, but I don't mean to say this in a like a bad way, but like sometimes it's just like you don't have a choice. Sometimes it's not up to us, all right. And I'm not saying that as in like, oh, just let your daughter be whores. No, if you can, especially in this society, try your best to protect and help guide your kids in the right way, especially with our people being cursed with the absent fathers. That's a part of the curses in Deuteronomy chapter 28, all right, where I forgot what exactly how it says, but it basically says the remnant of his children whom he shall leave, all right, where he's not gonna a father's not gonna be in their child's life, in their wives' lives either, all right. So yeah, these are just some things I wanted to kind of bring up. I pray that this lesson was edifying. It's just something to think about, and this whole coincidence thing, the spirituality in general. All right, it's something that most nations have, except for Esau. Esau is the only one that is carnal, and the only thing that is actually the his drive is himself, and what can he do for himself? What is he allowed to do? Is there anything that restricting him and whatnot? So yeah, that's basically it. So with that, I pray this lesson was edifying. I want to give all honor, glory, and praise unto YAHAWAH, BaHashem, YAHAWASHI, BaHashem, Bakwak, Badash. Double honor to the elders and apostles, the great millstone above all, and Shalom.